He's a strategist, he's a visionary, he is Christopher Louis Sunter. How did that become Clem?
Well, at a very early age, Jeremy, I got a guitar. When I was about 11 years old from my godfather, I started playing at the school I was at, and the first song I learnt was "Oh My Darling Clementine." Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine. Thou art lost and gone forever, dreadful sorry Clementine.
You're giving your age away.
And people started calling me Clementine. No, Clementine.
Clementine.
So when people say, what's Clem short for? I say Clementine. Because
Oi.
Oi.
Okay.
And so I got the name Clem, and then I went to university with some of my schoolmates, and they called me Clem, and then a couple of my schoolmates joined Anglo, and that's how I've been called Clem ever since. Even my mum, dear old mum, started calling me Clem. So yeah, and I quite like the name Clem.
Did you play the guitar for a long time?
Yeah, I played in a rock band.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're kidding me.
I'm not. From 1957 to 1965. I had one other guy who I played with called Johnny Young. We even played in June 1964 on the same stage as the Rolling Stones. We alternated with the Stones, and that was when old Mick and co were seriously hot. They were the Rolling Stones. And so, yeah, I can say I shared a gig with the Rolling Stones.
Yay! Oh, what a thing to be able to say. And I started off by saying, he's a strategist, he's a visionary. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a rock star!
Absolutely.
Clem Sunter. Right, now let's come back down to earth, shall we?
Yeah.
We were talking just before the break about all of these things that we can offer.
Yeah.
Are we offering them?
Yeah, look, up to a point we are. I think the South African government does a very good job of balancing now the interests of China and America and Europe. And so we are seen as the leading player in Africa, and Jacob Zuma is part of G20. And so I do believe that we've got a very good brand here. But of course, if companies are moving here, they're going to look for certain things. They're going to look for law and order. Mm-hmm. They're going to look for education for their kids, medical care for their staff, all the stuff that you have in a first world economy. We're partially there. We've got pockets of excellence, but there's a lot more we can do to create what I would call an optimum environment for large companies to locate their subsidiaries in South Africa. Having said that, we probably have one of the soundest financial systems. We have banks that have never been bailed out. And so in the sort of financial market sense, I think South Africa is as good a place as you can be, and particularly because we're very advanced in information technology.
Now, there's this whole debate going down about why we're not part of this BRIC grouping. Brazil, Russia, India, China. I don't know if we don't qualify, do we? I mean, if you look at the top 6 countries in Africa and look at the top 6 in South America, we're nowhere near their GDP.
Yeah, but there is a reason for that, Jeremy. We are a two worlds economy. We're a first world economy, we're a third world economy. The great tragedy is we haven't got a bridge between the two, which allows all those incredible entrepreneurs of the informal sector to make it to the formal sector, because therein lies job creation. I've always said, rather than 5 million jobs being created by 2020, we should be creating 1 million new businesses by 2020. And in a sense, whilst we've had a political transformation, we have the same old economic order in South Africa. We have an economic club, and we have a lot of excluded people. Now, that is not a good combination to grow like Brazil or like India or China, where it's a much more even playing field. We've had, and I'm afraid to say it is part of the inheritance of apartheid, we've very much got a two worlds economy. And until we sort that out, we're never going to aspire to BRIC status.
Okay, well, that's got to be the next question then. How do we build that bridge?
Well, my view is that, and I've said this in an article which I'm writing for Ibrahim Patel, which I'm going to publish on News 24, which basically is going to say this. It's going to say, don't talk to all the people you normally talk to. Talk to the real entrepreneurs in this country, the people who set up businesses from scratch, like this 21-year-old lady called Moza, who set up a construction company and is now 21 years old. She is CEO of a construction company. Talk to people like her and say, what kind of environment would you really want to grow your company to make it a listed company on the JSE? Because my view is that we've got so many entrepreneurs in this country that are held back in the informal sector because they haven't got the mentorship, they haven't got the capital bridge, they haven't got the tax breaks to compensate for the risks. They haven't got all the things which you really need to grow your business. And jobs come because new businesses are created. And for me, that is the most important aspect of the new growth path. Is going to be to have an environment where entrepreneurs create businesses, hire people, and some of those businesses will go belly up. You know, it's nature of entrepreneurship. You have failure, but then you learn and you open another business. And that's how America became such an incredible success story. It was based on entrepreneurship. So I want the key driving principle of the new growth path to be creating an entrepreneurship culture in South Africa.
If there was one thing you could do to assist in creating that culture, what would it be?
I think the one thing I would do is get big businesses to subcontract their non-core services to small business. In Anglo-American, my old company, we have a project called the Zimeli Project, where we basically took the non-core activities of our mines and subcontracted to small black business. We had a target in the mid-90s of 100 million rand, 200 million rand. You know what the figure was last year? 23.5 billion rand.
Yikes.
Why? Because we found that all those small businesses are better at doing the job than we could do as a non-core activity in Anglo. And I want all other big businesses in this country to follow Anglo's model. And indeed, I'd love the scorecard to be changed so that you get points, not for just doing things with black businesses, but for doing things with small black businesses, because that's where the genuine entrepreneurs lie. They don't make wealth through connections. They make wealth because they've got a bright idea, like Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. That's what we need.
And that's what we need to grow.
Yeah, and you know, it does require a whole change from, you know, we are a party, this is the ANC, representing the workers, to we are a party representing individual champions in South Africa. And we are very proud that they have the sort of profit motive and that they are prepared to, you know, run businesses in the private sector. We need that kind of change of emphasis in the ANC. I'd love Jacob Zuma, Ebrahim Patel, Pravin Gordhan, Trevor Manuel to stand up and say, we are 100% behind the entrepreneurs in this country.
Let's move on to another topic which has been raised on the emails, and that is the Rand in 2011. What do you reckon the prospects are there, Clem?
Look, you know, the Rand should remain strong because, you know, the European currencies and the dollar are weak for a good reason. There is this huge quantity of debt, government debt. I mean, just to give you the figures, the recommended maximum in Europe is 60% of GDP, national debt to GDP. Well, Britain is around about 80, Ireland's 120, Greece is 140. America's around about 90. In fact, America's due to go to a national debt to GDP ratio of 100% next year, and they won't have been there since 1943. So, you know, they managed to grow out of that. You say, will they grow out of it again because of Eastern competition? I don't know. But the fact is, advanced economies are up to their ears in public debt, and therefore their currencies will probably remain weak, in which case our currency will remain strong.
Stock market?
Stock market, look, if we're in the UV scenario, which is the two-speed world, let me give you one figure before I give you the future. In March 2000, the Standard & Poor's 500 index, which measures the top 500 companies on Wall Street, was 1,500. On Bloomberg, yesterday, it was just below 1,200. So you'd have lost 20% of your wealth in America over the last 10 years, excluding dividends. In South Africa, the JSE in 2000 was 9,000. It's now 31,000. So you'd have tripled your wealth in South Africa over those 10 years. And the Rand is virtually where it was against the dollar in 2000. So all those financial advisors who told you to take your money offshore in the last 10 years were wrong. not mildly wrong, hugely wrong, as Julia Roberts would say. Huge mistake. And in that sense, two-speed world means it'll be like that for the next 10 years. The JSE will do much better than Wall Street or European stock markets because the growth prospects are here.
2011, what are your expectations?
Well, you know, as a scenario planner, I don't think I've ever been more uncertain about the future, ever. You know, this is
you and how many millions of us?
Well, I know.
Because everyone's going.
I know, but I'm just saying, as a
going.
professional sort of assessor of the future, it's hugely uncertain. You know, when you have shock events like North Korea, I mean, North Korea's got nukes. I mean, America has got a problem because, you know, whatever they do, if they have an engagement with North Korea will just nuke Seoul, you know, and that's it. And then obviously the Americans will step in and do the same to North Korea. But I mean, you know, we haven't had events of that magnitude on our radar screen. I mean, look at Iran. I mean, look at all this correspondence on WikiLeaks about, you know, Saudi Arabia saying that, you know, America should have gone into Iran to stop their nuclear program. These are huge things which we've never faced before, that you now have weapons of mass destruction in the hands of people who are not considered totally responsible. So what I'm saying is that it's very difficult to say what will happen in 2011 because of the potential for major shocks. Obviously, there's natural shocks such as tsunamis as well. Mm-hmm. But as far as stock markets are concerned, my view is that advanced economies are going to take 5 years before they'll have a sustainable recovery because they've got to get rid of the public debt. We, on the other hand, in Africa, as well as South America and China and India, face a future where we'll have growth. We'll have growth. South Africa won't be as high as the rest of Africa, but we'll grow at 3 to 4%.
Clem, thank you very much for your insights. Thank you very much for your time. It's wonderful to have seen you again.
Thank you, Jeremy. Lovely to see you.
You too.